Guys, how's it going? I hope everyone is doing well day or night whenever you tune in and see this. So this is going to be a general reading for air sign Libra. All right, so we are going to talk about cards here on the table and get into that in just a moment here. But first, I would like to go over a couple of things, okay? So this reading may resonate for you, even if, let's say, as an example, you are not a sun sign Libra, rising Libra, or have your moon in Libra, okay? Because we all have Libra somewhere in our birth chart, okay? So there may still be some messages here for you, even if you don't fall in those other categories, okay? And that's also why I always say, if you see me before, you know the deal, but I kind of have to say it just in case there's some new people too, right? That it's always good to know what your other placements are, because depending on what's going on in your life, you may resonate more with your moon sign or your sun sign as an example, okay? So if you know your birth time, that is great. If you don't know your birth time, you can still get a pretty good, decent birth chart online for free just by Googling it, right? So if you know your birthday and then your place of birth, you can still get your other placements there, okay? So I always encourage everyone to do that, because as we go through the reading, if it's not for you, never force it, right? So then always check out your other placements. Something may resonate more for you there. What else did I want to say? Yes, I do take one photo at the end of all the cards here. Maybe in the future, I will be going back to pre-recording these since I've turned off the chat button for a couple of months now. I might do that in the future, where I used to have a view of the cards like up in the corner. If you've watched other tarot card readers, you've probably seen it. It's just a little more time consuming for me, because then I have to edit it even longer. So usually I just do the live readings because it comes out faster. But anyway, I don't even know why I told you all that, but it was important, I guess. So if you want to see the photo at the end of the reading after the live, all you have to do is click in the description box below and follow the instructions there on how to see it. What else? Yes, this time is timeless. This reading is timeless. Time is fluid and relative, right? So for some people, it may resonate within this time period from March 19th to April 19th. For others, it may be, like as an example, 6 months in the past or 6 months in the future, a year in the past, a year in the future. It will resonate for everybody a little bit differently as far as when things may show up or manifest, or if they've already have, okay? So yes, with all that being said, let's go ahead and do a little sound bell here for some grounding for the reading and some general healing. So if you want to, you can take a deep breath in and out whenever, or just breathe normally. But just be aware, if you're sensitive, it does get a little loud. All right, so we'll just do that real quickly and then we'll get started. Okay. All right, Libra. Okay. So yeah, I will put this over here. I guess we do have room today. Sometimes I don't know, my cards end up further down and then I don't have space, but we have space for it today. So anyway, what else did I want to mention real quickly before we get into the reading here real deeply? Yes, so if this reading is not necessarily about you in particular. It could be, as an example, about a person that you're dealing with, or multiple people that you're dealing with, or your general environment situation, something to do with astrology or the collective unconscious of this time. So always keep that in the back of your mind too. So yes, we're going to start here in the center with your main tarot cards, your 9 cards in the center, and then we'll work outwards to your tarot confirmation cards, and also talk about what's on the top and the bottom of each deck for even more insight, since I'm using using 2 different decks, okay? I always feel like I'm throwing up the peace sign when I do that, but yeah. And then at the end, we'll also go over 2 of your oracle cards at the very end as well. All right, Libra, let's get into it. So I know your last reading had like 9 major arcanas, and so as a foreshadowing or just straight up telling you now, you have, I think, 4 or 5. Let me see again. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 4. Okay. So it's not a good or bad thing, the number, right? It just usually in a reading, the more major arcanas that you have showing up speaks of a significant amount of change. So that 9 major arcanas that showed up in your last reading that I did here on my channel, it could still be happening, some of those changes, right? But again, it will differ for everyone. But as far as us talking about the major arcanas, I will go ahead and call out the zodiac signs here that I see the other zodiac energies present in your reading in case that's something that you want to know about. Okay, so you actually showed up in your reading. So we have some Libra energy here. We have a little bit of Scorpio energy, kind of twice, and then we have Taurus. Okay, so Scorpio, Libra, Taurus energy. Okay, so again, that could be somebody that you're dealing with, or it could be you have predominantly a lot of those zodiac energies in your own birth chart, or the other person does, or multiple people, or again, something to do with astrology, or it doesn't have to mean anything at all, but I do want to mention it. Okay, so let's go ahead and call out your cards here. We have the 5 of Cups in the right side up position. We have the Empress in the right side up position. That's you, right? We have, or one of your cards, that's not your official card, but that is your energy as well. We have the Prince of Swords in the right side up position. We have the 6 of Staves, or known as 6 of Wands, right side up. We have the 9 of Staves, or 9 of Wands, right side up. We have the 10 of Swords in the reverse position. We have the 3 of Staves, or 3 of Wands in reverse. We have the 8 of Sacred Circles, also known as 8 of Pentacles, right side up. And then we have the 4 of Sacred Circles, or 4 of Pentacles in the reverse position, okay? And then we also have a repeating card, but that really comes later, so we'll go over that in a little bit, okay? So let's also, let me move this so you can kind of see the card placement, and definitely set my timer. It's just kind of letting me know relatively what time it is. All right, but it's not a big deal. So this first row can be energy going across here from, let's say, about March 19th through the end of March to March 31st. Okay, it can be a little bit before, a little bit after. The second row could be energy from about April 1st through April 9th. Okay, same thing, could be a little bit before, a little bit after. And then the third row could be energy, let's say, from April 9th to April 19th or so. All right. And also, you know, when we talk about your first row and even your first 2 confirmation cards that we'll do later, it can be showing up energy more from the recent past, okay? And so that will be different for everybody, right? So the recent past could be a couple of days ago, hours, minutes, seconds, you know, weeks, months, years, what have you. Okay, so always keep that there too. So when we start off your reading here, Libra, with the 5 of Cups in the right side up position, this could be energy from the recent past. It could be about you, or again, somebody else, vice versa, right? But we have the 5 of Cups in the right side up position. So this is a little bit of this energy of somebody maybe only focusing on the things that have been going wrong, or the things that aren't as pleasant in some way. You see the king in the background, he spilled some of his wine and he looks upset. But what is really needed here, right, is just perspective change. If he turns around, I'm sure these other people will get him some more wine, right? So there's still, like, you know, hopeful, helpful people around, or situations or energy, if it's not necessarily people that want to help you here, or the other person here, if it's not you, Libra. But, you know, it's not like a horrible energy. It could just be a little bit of an energetic blockage, or some stagnant energy, you know, coming off of the recent past in some way, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, all right? But as we know, it doesn't last long, okay? So that could have been even, like I said, a couple of days or even hours of that energy around, different for everyone. But then we go right from the Five of Cups right side up to then the Empress, which is some of your energy, right? Libra energy here. Okay. So that is a really nice transition, even within your first two cards, the changing of energy. So, excuse me, I feel like I'm far away. I'm going to come a little closer. Um, so it's like we go from, focusing only on the negative or things that aren't as pleasant or that have upset you or upset another person or multiple people, because that's the other thing I forgot to mention about the cups. If you've seen me before, you know the drill, right? But the cups represent the emotion. So there could have been something maybe emotionally upsetting in some way that was more in the negative shadow side of something. But here it's transformed really, really quickly, right? With that energy that is Libra energy. So here we have the Empress in the right side up position. All right. And so she is known as like the businesswoman of the tarot. She's the CEO. She's like the top businesswoman. Okay. And it doesn't matter if you're a man, right? It's just talking about the metaphor of the imagery of the cards. So she's sitting on her throne very comfortably. We can see that she's pregnant, right? So she's planting seeds for the future. And also she is challenged and channeled her emotions in a positive way to become in this position of the Empress or the Queen, right? So the water in the tarot in the background, there's the waterfall, also represents the emotions, okay? And so she's sitting really comfortably here. Now the Empress does speak of creativity and also feminine energy. So it's not just saying like that only feminines are creative. That's I would never say that, right? But we see that with the feminine symbol here etched into her throne as well, okay? But it is for momentum and progress and really, really beautiful, right? So it could be that maybe towards the end of March here, Libra, you're feeling like there was a little bump and now you're getting more back into your own energy. Or there could literally be another Libra that's helping you, a role model for you, or you're just tapping into Libra energy in general, okay? But it seems like it's very beneficial for you here too, because then your next card is the Prince of Swords in the right side up position. So this is a really nice positive placement as well. Okay, so here we see this young Japanese prince, and he's got his sword up in the air. That's how you want to see it, right? And his eyes are closed, so he's meditating. There's water behind him as well. So he's learning to have his emotions and his logical mind coexist together in a really nice complementary way. So the emotions represented by the water here, and then the intellect and the mind, the logical side, the crown chakra is represented by the sword. Okay, so it could be that like that last week or so of March, the week that we're in now, or even this upcoming weekend, or a little bit of half of next week, right? You could be tapping into that energy here, or another person is. But either way, it's very favorable. It's very good. Okay. Now moving forward to your fourth card, and now we're in the second row, so that could be energy around April 1st through April 9th or so. We have the Six of Staves in the right side up position, also known as Six of Wands right side up. So this is a very supportive energy, right? All these people in Egypt are all around this guy in the center who's on the chariot, and they're cheering him on, right? And so it's also about celebrations, right? But it's mainly that's really supportive, beautiful energy. And when we speak of the wands or even the swords, they can be used for two different things, right? They're a weapon and a tool. So here it would be like the defenses maybe are down a little bit more because there's this supportive energy. So that's a good thing. It doesn't mean that anyone's blocking their abundance. Abundance can be money, it can be love, it can be whatever you want to manifest in your life, right? So they're moving forward at this fast pace, and there's this beautiful celebratory energy here too. So that's always nice to see, right? Especially at the beginning of like a new month, let's say, or just in general, it's nice to see it anytime, right? Now, moving forward, I would say that there are, some, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. It's not bad or anything. I'm just, sometimes I have brain farts, but it's like this energy of you being on the precipice of an ending and a new beginning. And there could be a little bit of like a burnout factor energy, where maybe you want to give up, or someone wants to give up, or everybody wants to give up, or it's just the energy in the environment. But it's like you're almost there, like, so don't give up, okay? Especially the one that follows it, but I'll talk about that one in a second. So here we have as your fifth card, the Nine of Staves or the Nine of Wands in the right side up position. And we see this African young man, right? And he's crouching down, kind of taking a rest for a second. But this is about rite of passage energy. So a lot of cultures do have rites of passage, and a lot of them don't, right? But it's like about some kind of final test when you're at a certain age to then show that you're an adult, right? So that's just kind of like the metaphor of the card. But it also is a nine, right before 10. So that would be the culmination energy of leveling up in some place in your life. And so that's like when we talked about wanting to give up because just being tired or burned out in some way, but you're so close. So kind of just keep holding on, right? And try to, again, if there's a burnout factor and we're talking about the wands or the staves, that would again be a weapon or a tool. And so if you are feeling burned out and maybe your defenses are a little bit lower, then I would say do some grounding techniques, of course. So that would be small things you can do throughout your day, or even just 10 minutes or 5 minutes of your day, if that's all you have, to really center yourself and get back to being in your body. Okay, so that could be listening to some nice music. It could be going for a walk. It could be meditating, talking to a friend, eating some healthy food, like whatever it is, watching a comedy, whatever it is, for you that kind of just gets you back into your body, to take even like a mental break. Even though this is not a swords card and it's not necessarily about mental energy, but when we talk about burnout, it can be physical and also mental, spiritual, what have you, okay? So I wouldn't, worry too much about that placement. And the fact that it kind of follows or falls in the center of the second row, could be like the middle of that first week or so of April, even first weekend of April. But yeah, it kind of just shows that you put in a lot of effort at work, right? When we talk about the tarot, it usually goes from 0 or 1 to 10. So to get to 9, and it's in the positive position here, it shows a lot of hard work to get to that point, right? So let's say, as an example, this guy who's doing the rite of passage has to, I don't know, like hunt some kind of animal and then cook it and then do something else and like whatever. It's just an example, okay? I have no idea. But it's like they put in a lot of effort, even though he's a young man and let's say he's not an adult yet, until he finishes this rite of passage, he's still put in a lot of effort or work to get there. So yeah. But let's keep going here. Now, with your 6th card, you have the 10 of Swords in a reverse position. And this is how you want to see this card. It's really beautiful. It's like the energy could shift, pretty quickly or dramatically in some way, where perhaps if you were feeling that burnout from before, or just not quite sure if you were ever going to get to the end of something and the beginning of a new beginning, the start of a new beginning, with this 10 of Swords in reverse, it's like now you're letting go of any anxiety, worry, overthinking, depression, or even exhaustion, right? Because that's what this card would be if it was the right side up. So that's beautiful to see. So it shows, again, even just in 2 cards, how much work you're even, excuse me, putting in your own self-care, your own, I don't know, self-care is probably the best way to describe it. But it's like something could come in here where suddenly you just feel this energy. It could be, of course, somebody around you that's inspiring you a little bit to do that. Or finally, when you do get that rest, then you're like, why was I worrying so much? That kind of thing, okay? But yeah, let's keep going and see what else we have here. So now we're in the 3rd row, which could be energy around April 9th through April 19th or so, right? Not exact. And we have the 3 of Staves in the reverse position. So I don't see this as a bad placement, especially following the Ten of Swords, because it's really just telling me that somebody here isn't quite ready to socialize in some way. It could be socializing energetically, socializing in the physical body. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Hermes, no. Come here. Shh. Hermes, no. Come here. Shh. Sorry. That's why I keep the music on, but doesn't always work. Anyway, so someone isn't quite ready to socialize in some way. It could be energetically or physically socialize because they're still maybe processing some emotions here, because if this card was right side up, you would see the Nile River behind these Egyptian people, right? So again, the water emotions, okay? So even though all this inner work and this self-care is being done for somebody here where they're letting go of anxiety, worry, overthinking, they're like, I'm still quite not, even though I'm doing that, I'm still quite not ready to step out yet. I'm still not quite ready to go to the party and socialize with others yet, okay? So that kind of makes sense to me, right? Because it would be a little bit weird if somebody was doing some inner work and self-care and then like dramatically shift and change and they're like, all right, I'm ready to go. I mean, everyone is different, of course, but sometimes it just takes time to transition between those two energies. So I see that as like perfectly natural. All right, but before we keep going forward, this is kind of where my spirit guides also want me to talk to you about what's on the top and the bottom of this deck, okay, along with that Three of Staves in the reverse position. Now, this is energy more from the way back past, whatever that means for you. So what we have is the Judgment card in the right side up position and the King of Swords in the right side up position. And the Judgment card can be seen also as possibly some Libra and Scorpio energy as well. I feel like you always get the Judgment card. I can't remember exactly if you got it last time, Libra, but you and who else always shows up in their reading? Virgo. You and Virgo and Leo, I feel like are the top 3 signs that always somehow show up in your reading. But anyway, just putting that aside, okay? Let's talk about the breakdown of what the cards mean, okay? So you have the Judgment in the right side up position, and then you have the King of Swords in the right side up position on the bottom of the deck, okay? So when we have this Judgment card from the past, in the way back past, right? It could be here, Libra, that somebody was wanting to be judged in a certain way where they were deemed worthy of something. So normally in other traditional tarot decks, you would see these people rising out of their graves and there's an angel blowing the horn, and it's like that traditional kind of scene from the Bible, like, okay, these people were good people, so now they get to go to heaven, blah, 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 right? So we're not talking about the religious side of it or not saying anything bad if that's something somebody believes, right? But we're just kind of talking about the metaphor of wanting to revisit something, wanting to come up out of the grave, right? So that's almost like resurrection, right? Jesus, all that stuff. But it's more of the metaphorical side, right? So when this shows up here, it could also be that somebody is, when we do, I kind of forget to talk about this all the time with this card, but it is something, and maybe, well, as we go through your reading, we'll see if it shows up in other places. But the thing about the Judgment card too, if it's not about a particular ruling or talking about people's morals or justice, right? Justice would be your official card, and balance and all those things. But it could be more about wanting to connect to source, wanting to connect to God, your higher power, your guardian angels, your ancestors, whatever you call it, if that is something, that you believe, if you're not like an atheist or something like that, okay? So it could just be looking for answers to about kind of like, how do we, as a society, we judge certain things, certain ways with the laws, right? But how do I, as a person, also make those calls too? So anyway, when we put all of that together with the King of Swords in the right side up position, now this is all about mental clarity, okay? So look at, he's standing in the water, this Japanese guy with his cool sword here, and he's fishing or something, right? But he's channeling his emotions in a positive way to use it as a tool. Literally, he's fishing, okay? So it's like in the past here, somebody or some energy, Libra, was trying to decide, do I want to resurrect something? Do I want to revisit something? Do I want to connect with this higher source or power? And how can I do that, but also balance it, my emotions with my intellect? And so I can also remain a king, right? So there could have been in the past also a leadership role, or you or the other person feeling more in their power, leveling up in some area of their life. But then when this shows up here, maybe this process wasn't all the way done, or something was triggered where, again, with the water, if this card was right side up, if you're watching just for reference, right? Like maybe there was something with the emotions that wasn't fully balanced or needed to be revisited in some way, okay? The other thing, too, I would say is that with the Judgment card, in this particular deck, right, it's very blue. And her dress, the way it's flowing, it almost looks like she's like underwater or something. It's very abstract, right? But I think it's supposed to be like this is her bed, actually, and that she's dreaming or something, but she could be swimming, right? There's just like a lot of imagery of the water here. Now, the only side of this card that, even though it is from the way, way back past, is that there's a positive and negative in everything, right? In every card, is that if there was a ruling or judgment that was passed or something revisited that you or the other person necessarily didn't like the way it went down, there's a little bit of, excuse me, like this self-destructive energy could be present with the woman at the top punching the mirror, okay? But I don't feel like that's necessarily the energy I'm picking up here for you, because like what I was saying originally, when you went from the Ten of Swords in reverse to then the Three of Staves in reverse, it was just kind of like a natural process of working on self-care and doing inner work, to then being like, I'm not quite ready to socialize in some way all the way yet. There's still a couple of small things with somebody's emotions or your own emotions, that you needed to figure out, or they need to figure out. Now, real quickly before I forget though, that Judgment card is actually your repeating card. So even though we'll talk about it more later, we'll show it to you for a second, okay? So it is a particular message from Spirit when this happens, right? Like, hey dude, like pay closer attention. This card came out twice, and in this instance, it came out both in the positive upright position, okay? So one is from the way back past, and one is more future, current, present energies, possibilities, right? But usually there are 72 cards in every tarot deck, and so it's 1 in 72 chances that it will come out again. So it is like a really special message there. And you can always look up, of course, I always encourage everyone to do their own research and trust their own intuition. If you're really like, well, why is this Judgment card always keep showing up the last couple of months, or in general in my readings, you can just straight up look up what it means and kind of figure out, if what I said didn't necessarily resonate, you can maybe draw your own conclusions too. All right, but let's keep moving forward. So we go from the Three of Staves in reverse, right, to now this Eight of Sacred Circles in the right side up position. Now, I think that Virgo had a little bit of this energy. It was either Virgo or Leo, where, let me back up. When we see the Eight of Sacred Circles or Eight of Pentacles right side up, it's like a very productive energy, very busy time. So maybe also why this was like in reverse before it, the card preceding it, the Three of Staves, was that maybe they were taking that rest to deal with those little couple small emotional things, because maybe they knew, or you knew, or the other person knew, somebody, some energy knew that they were about to be really busy and they needed to be like on their game, right? They needed to be really focused. So when this shows up, this could be like the middle, perhaps, of April or even beyond, further into April. But you see this Native American woman here, she's making drums. She's learning how to make them if she didn't already know. So it's also about learning a skill or a craft or deepening your knowledge of something that you already knew, but it is very productive energy. It is abundant energy. It's progress, forward momentum, all those things too. So that's beautiful to see there for you, Libra. Now, moving forward, as your last card in the main center here, we have the Four of Sacred Circles in the reverse position. And actually, while I was shuffling and doing a meditation before I turned the camera on, it kind of didn't all the way pop out, but I saw it. I mean, usually I have my eyes closed when I do it, but sometimes if a card pops out and I don't necessarily draw it out myself, I will kind of look at it and be like, oh, that's interesting, and then I'll put it back and keep shuffling. But this time it came out again. All right, so it was like, I'm coming out. So we have the Four of Sacred Circles in the reverse position. So this is a little bit of stagnant energy or an energetic blockage. And it's really, I would say, like, you really only had two here in your reading, and that can be normal, right? Everybody has energetic blockages or times where things aren't going exactly they want to or at the pace that they want to, right? So kind of your first one was maybe, let's say, your first card, the Five of Cups, right side up, right? And then here with the Four of Sacred Circles in reverse, there could be some issues of communication here, okay? Because normally when it's right side up, you see this Native American man and he's smoking, okay? And so the smoke, the peace pipe in Native American culture is like, let's sit down, let's communicate and work something out, right? But it's in the reverse position. So it could be that somebody's communication is not being understood completely here, or it's also just that stagnant energy where you're not feeling particularly abundant. Because if the Four of Sacred Circles or Four of Pentacles was right side up, it would be about stacking abundance to finally get to that 10 of Pentacles, right? Or 10 of Sacred Circles. But it's in reverse. So it can be a little bit of just like an energetic blockage. But we'll find out more because this is actually where my spirit guides wanted me to talk to you about what's on the top and the bottom of your other deck here in relation to this card. All right, and this is again energy from the way back past. So here we have the Hierophant in the right side up position, and that is Taurus energy. And then on the bottom we have the Knight of Wands in the reverse position here. Okay. So the reason why perhaps this Four of Sacred Circles is in the reverse, and we're talking about maybe communication issues for some, or not being understood or something, right? With the Hierophant in the right side up position here, it's almost like if you were in a leadership role in the way back past in some way, or you were feeling more in your power, or the other person was in a leadership role or feeling more in their power, perhaps they lost faith with that energy or lost faith in that person, is in a particular person, because the Hierophant card is showing a priest, right? So it has to do also with schools and institutions, teachers, gurus, mentors, whatever it is, right? It's just like some kind of leadership role where people may come to you for answers or advice about something. So when it shows up here with that Knight of Wands in the reverse position, normally the Knights would also be about communication, okay? So if there was a communication in the past, a medium-sized communication that, let's say, you gave to someone or someone gave to you, or a medium-sized opportunity from the universe that came in, maybe it wasn't well received, okay? Maybe it didn't go in line with the way that someone told you it was going to go down, or someone told you that this is like the correct answer or way of doing something, okay? I mean, who knows, right? It's a general reading, but it could just be also that communication was maybe just straight up put on hold and never happened, okay? Because, right, if these two cards were both, put this here for a second, if these two cards were both right up, it would be all about communication or opportunities coming in. But they're both kind of reversed. So either the communication wasn't well received or fully understood, or opportunity, or it just straight up didn't happen. And it could be because somebody's expectations or somebody's leadership roles were switched or confused, or somebody wasn't feeling all the way in their power in some way. Maybe it has something to do with confidence too. But it is a general reading, so that's kind of what we have for that. All right. Now let's talk about your tarot confirmation cards too, to get even more insight here. I'm going to put these under there so we have less cards on the table. All right, so what do we have here? We'll call them out in order and then go from there. We have the Ace of Wands in the right side up position. We have the Seven of Swords in the reverse position. We have the Judgment card in the right side up position. And then we have the King of Pentacles in the reverse position. I'm going to put these under here too. So these first two confirmation cards are energy more from the recent past. And then the last two are more from more future, current, present energies, possibilities. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right. So when we have this wonderful Ace of Wands from the recent past, this is all about new beginnings. It's gifts from the divine, the hand from the divine coming out of the clouds and giving this prosperity, this growth, this abundance, money, what have you, right? But it is definitely growth, right? We even see on the wand, there's a couple of branches and leaves falling in the air. So it's about that growth and that potential, okay? And also when we talk about aces, it could be that somebody higher up, a higher source or power could also have been strengthening your innate talents and gifts, okay, with the wands here and coming out from the hand from the divine. But also this card in particular, this particular Ace of Wands, right? Because there's Ace of Cups, there's Ace of Swords. This is Ace of Wands. It talks about fertility. It talks about the birthing of a new project or passion or energy. It could also be, even if you are a woman that wants to have a baby, right? The phallic imagery here could be that you're like, or they are, really fertile at this time, but that's maybe just for a small few, okay? But the general metaphors or energy of these cards are all the other things I mentioned, okay? So when this card is coming in here and it is confirming the Five of Cups right side up, the Six of Staves right side up, and that Three of Staves in reverse here, okay? I would say that for these two, it was a catalyst or favorable, but we'll go one by one here. Now, for this one, I would definitely say it could be a catalyst for some people, right? Because when this Ace of Wands comes in here and confirms the Five of Cups, it's like if there was an energy or person or you yourself at the last couple of days of March that was having a hard time focusing on the dualities in life, right? The positive and the negative. If they were only focusing on the negative or the things that have gone wrong or could go wrong, as far as emotional stuff too, if there was emotional disappointment and they were having a hard time changing their perspective, or you were having a hard time changing your perspective around these things and showing that there are still people, energy, situations that wanted to help you and give you more wine that you spilled over, okay, with the hand of the divine, the Ace of Wands coming in here. It's just kind of confirming it, and it could have been a catalyst for some to maybe change that energy, because as we know, it changes really quickly. It goes from the Five of Cups to then the Empress, okay? So with this energy from the recent past, with the Ace of Wands, maybe somebody realizes by the time it shifts, the energy shifts to the Empress energy and the Libra energy, right? That they are really skilled and masterful with certain gifts or strengths that they have within themselves or within yourself, okay? So they can pull themselves out of that or be reminded of that and then have some type of new beginning, have more growth and prosperity, all that stuff, okay? And then when it comes in here and is confirming the Six of, I'm about to say Swords, Six of Staves right side up, or Six of Wands, they're both wands, right, just a different name in this deck. It is like definitely, confirming or, complementary energy here. So it's like, yes, new beginnings, celebrations, supportive energy. You could say the same thing with the Ace of Wands, maybe not supportive necessarily of other people, but supportive energy from the divine, from your creator, your higher powers to be, their ancestors, your spirit guides, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so and then people will possibly want to celebrate that energy with you. I mean, anytime you have a new beginning or fresh energy, excuse me, other people are going to be like responding to that, and possibly, hopefully, if they're your support system and they're good friends and family and romantic partners and all those things, that they will be celebrating with you. Okay. Now, when it comes in here and confirms the Three of Staves or Three of Wands right side up, it's like, yes, take that time. If you are not quite ready to socialize in some way yet, there were still a couple of small emotional things that needed to be addressed. Also, the thing with the wands, I think I said it earlier too, is that it can be a weapon or tool, right? So, but it also talks about the wands in particular, our defense system. So, am I being too defensive and blocking my abundance in some way? Am I not being defensive enough where I'm being taken advantage of or seen as a victim? That kind of thing. Also, when we talk about health, right? People may be coming to the reading for different things. Our defense system, our immune system would be our health, right? And so all these kind of questions or concerns may come up when we talk about the wands. So maybe it was more of a health thing, right? Of just a couple small things they needed to address or you needed to address before having that new beginning, fresh start energy. Okay. And also before that productive energy that was going to come in too. All right. Now moving forward, we have as your second confirmation card the Seven of Cups in the reverse position, and this is another kind of card that you want to see in the reverse position, okay? Because it means letting go of anxiety, worry, overthinking, but also it means perhaps for some in the recent past, because this is recent past energy, that you got more adequate help, right? When this card is right side up, sorry, let me turn that down. This guy is trying to carry all these swords and it's really heavy, and he looks really goofy and he's stumbling around. So in other decks, you would even see a little kid trying to help him, and he's like, yo, you can't help me, like you're so small, you don't have the muscles or the strength to help me. So when it shows up in the reverse position for you or for the other person, general environment situation, it's like now perhaps in the recent past somebody was getting more adequate help, the right kind of help that they needed with something. Also, when we talked about health before and mental health, the swords represent our intellect, our crown chakra, our logical mind. So that could be mental health stuff, right? So maybe in the past, you weren't identifying or getting the right help, or another person, general environment situation, perhaps with their mental health in some way, but it doesn't have to be. And now they started to, in the recent past, get that better help and have more assistance with those things, and also lay down burdens. That's the other thing too, is when the Seven of Swords is right side up, it's a lot of mental burdens for sure, just burdens in general. But when it's in reverse, it's like, okay, I'm going to put some of those swords down, like it's way too much. Okay, so it's a lightening of energy too. So when it comes in here and it's confirming the Empress in the right side up position, the Nine of Staves right side up, and the Eight of Sacred Circles right side up, I would say, hopefully you can see them all, but you kind of get the idea, that all of this energy was very complementary and confirming, because all of these other cards are very positive, right? So the only one I could say that is maybe can be seen a little bit as struggling would be the Nine of Staves right side up, right? Because remember, that could be like a little bit of some burnout energy. Sorry guys, I'm just turning the music up a little bit. Okay. So, and I like to look at it this way for some reason. It's easier for me. So when that Seven of Swords in reverse is confirming the Nine of Staves right side up, if there is burnout energy or wanting to give up because it's taking forever to get to an ending and a new beginning, or leveling up in some way in some area of your life or some area of someone else's life, it's like set those burdens aside. Try not to worry too much. Just try to get some rest, ground yourself, be a little bit more patient. Things are hopefully turning for the better, as we've kind of seen they already have. But let's go back over to kind of what this represents with the Empress energy. All right. So this is like, yeah, she cannot be a queen or empress or a leader position of high authority if she's carrying all this anxiety, worry, overthinking, if she's carrying too many burdens. She has to delegate tasks. I always say that, right? So she can't do everything, but she's like, she's very strategic and smart about who's doing what, right? She's the businesswoman, the CEO of the tarot. So, of course, she knows. All right. And so she also has channeled her emotions in a positive way to plant things and seeds for the future, to tap into also the higher vibration and energy as well. We all have masculine and feminine energy inside, and use it to her advantage or to his advantage if you're a man, right? Whatever. It's not about gender or how you identify, it's just the metaphors of the cards, okay? But yeah, none of that would be possible. And also the supportive energy of the Empress as well. She has her back, supported by her throne, her chair here. So that represents the support system, friends, family, mental health care worker, romantic lovers, what have you, all those things, right? So she wouldn't have that support system as strong as it may be here to support her and others if she didn't let go of that heavy burden and get her mental stuff kind of more balanced, okay? Now, when the Seven of Swords in reverse is coming in here and confirming the Eight of Sacred Circles right side up, it's the same thing. If you're carrying like all these heavy swords or heavy bags, burdens, how are you going to create more abundance in your life, more money in your life, more love, better health, work stuff, creativity, all that? You can't do it when you're busy with all this other stuff, right? So the more that you can let those things go, or the other person can let those things go. They started maybe this process in the recent past, and they're continuing to do it. So then they can learn a new skill or deepen their knowledge of a previous skill they have, or trade and craft, and get into that productive, busy, abundant energy. All right, now let's talk about your last two tarot confirmation cards. And these are more energy for the future, present energies, possibilities, probabilities. Just give me 1 second. Something to drink here. Okay, so we already kind of talked about what the Judgment card may, represent, and I'll pull it up with the other one since that's your repeating card. Okay. And one was from the way back past, okay, and this is more future, current, present energies, possibilities, nothing set in stone, okay? So when they show up again, it's a particular message from spirit, right? But it's like, yeah, do I want to judge others in a certain way? Do I hold those judgments of others to myself in the same way? Do I want to revisit something, restart something, reanalyze something? Do I want to resurrect something? Do I want to connect to source, or the higher powers that be, or God, or whatever you want to call it? All those things kind of, come out of that Judgment card energy, right? So when the Judgment card here is coming in here and it's confirming the Prince of Swords right side up, the Ten of Swords in reverse, and the Four of Sacred Circles in reverse here. Okay, I would say for these two, it's very complementary and confirming it and beautiful and supportive of that. Okay, and we will go one by one, but with the last one, we don't know yet. We'll save it. Okay, we'll go in order. All right, so when the Judgment card comes in here and it's confirming the Prince of Swords right side up, it's like, yeah, if this guy wants to level up in some way and eventually become a king because he is a prince, he's going to have to keep meditating, working on his emotions, having the heart chakra and the crown chakra work together, the logical mind and the emotions, right? And then also, when he's in that state and he's open to learning new things, also because he's a prince, he's not a king yet, right? So he's learning. He is can be more easily drawn to the questions of the Judgment card, like what we were just talking about. So how do I want to judge others? How are others judging me? Do I want to revisit something? Blah, 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 like all that stuff we just mentioned. He could be more open to that energy because he's not at the top of his game yet, or top of a status or position at work, or nowhere else to go in a relationship, what have you. So what I always like to say about any prince cards or knights cards or princesses is that regardless of our age, status, job, title, right, relationship, we should always continue to be wanting to learn new things and stay curious, because that makes us more abundant. All right. Now, moving forward, when this judgment card comes in here and is confirming the 10 of Swords in the reverse position, this is very supportive and complimentary, right? It's like this letting go of the anxiety, worry, overthinking, even depression or exhaustion, burnout again, but this is more mental burnout. The more that you can do that, or the other person in multiple people, general environment situation, and the more chances they have at getting in touch with spirit, getting in touch with God, the creator, also asking themselves if they want to revisit something, resurrect something, all of those things. Okay, so it can be, also, I see it more for you in terms of this reading, and maybe perhaps past readings. I'll have to go back and look at your photos because I don't remember exactly. But the Judgment card can also almost be like an ace, since you had the other ace, the Ace of Wands in the recent past. So it can be about if you were resurrected, like when we talked about that example, from God, right? That you were a good person, that you're now going to heaven, that you get to live again. Or if it's like talking about other religions, or let's say like Hinduism, if you get to be reincarnated into a good life or a good position or whatever, it's like it's living again, it's starting again. So it could be almost like an ace. So it's like having that new beginning, having that fresh energy to start again too. Okay, so when we put that together, right, the Judgment card coming in and confirming the Four of Sacred Circles in reverse position, or Four of Pentacles reverse. If there was any type of communication issues coming up towards the middle of April here for you, Libra, or for another person or multiple people, general environment, right? It's like, or if it's just stagnant energy or an energetic blockage in some way, or not feeling particularly abundant in some way, maybe it is kind of saying here to call on to source, to spirit, to your guardian angels, what have you, to help you reinvigorate your communication style, right? Of how you communicate with others, or something about communication, right? Sorry, he's speaking of communication, the commercials. They're trying to communicate something too, like we don't want to buy it. Okay, but I lost my train of thought. Like we were saying about the communication stuff, right? With the Judgment card here, with the Four of Sacred Circles in reverse. If there is something about learning how to communicate differently or change your communication style, right? So communication isn't just, right, verbally. It can be things energetically, communication. What's your energetic hygiene is what a lot of people call it, right? Are you being responsible for your energy that you're showing up with other people, even if you're not directly speaking? That kind of thing. It can be a lot of different things, but yeah, let's leave it there. Otherwise, I'll just go on forever. Okay, but I think what it's basically saying is if there is that energetic blockage or stagnant energy communication issues, it doesn't have to stay like that, right? I mean, nothing is set in stone throughout your whole reading, but it's particularly even more so with these last two cards too, right? It's just a reminder, a gentle reminder, okay? Now going forward, oh my gosh, excuse me guys, I am losing my voice this week, hold on. Or maybe every week, but it's allergy season, and side note, I think I might be allergic to dogs and cats and have been my whole life, but I work with them and I have them in my house and I love them. So yes, anyway, maybe that's why I'm always struggling, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So getting back to your last fourth confirmation card, we have the King of Pentacles in the reverse position now, okay? So this could be a reminder, a gentle reminder, energetic blockage, or some stagnant energy when it's in the reverse position. Somebody not feeling supported, somebody maybe not ready to level up in some area of life, hesitancy there. And this also has a little bit of Taurus energy that we see. I usually don't talk about the zodiac signs with the minor arcana. Always do that, the minor arcana, but we can just say it here because you had it before and it's showing up in the card and in the background there, right? Since we already mentioned the Taurus energy. But when this card, right, the King of Pentacles in reverse shows up here, it can be all of those things I just mentioned, right? So not feeling supported in some way or not feeling particularly abundant. So when this King of Pentacles comes in here and it's confirming the Prince of Swords, right side up, it's confirming the cards we just did, but maybe like an extra added layer to what we already talked about, right? So it's confirming the Prince of Swords, the Ten of Swords in reverse, and the Four of Sacred Circles in reverse as well. So, for the first two, the two swords cards, it was definitely a catalyst, right? If there was this energy of, well, not a catalyst, because this is more future energy, it would be more complementary, I guess is the better way to say it. If you have this energy of being open to learning new things and integrating your heart chakra and your crown chakra, yes, right on the bell, your logical mind with your emotions and your intuition and all that stuff. If you're able to do that, or the other person is able to do that, then they can switch this to now having the King of Pentacles right side up, right? To being more abundant, to be more supportive. And when we talk about the Taurus energy, the Taurus, the bull, right? Or even that you had in the Hierophant card, it's like a big animal that takes up space. They're known as stubborn, right? But when they're on a target, like, or whatever they set their mind to, they're going to go after it, okay? So I feel like it's just kind of saying that if you don't feel supported, go out and tell someone, hey, you are not supporting me. Hey, I'm not feeling the love. Whatever it is, right? Or find someone else that does represent those qualities for you in some way, if those people just don't have the time or energy of the exact amount of support that you particularly want, right? If we're talking about support. But if we're also talking about health or wealth or love, all those things, right? The more that you can, or the other person, multiple people, right, or general environment, can step into learning new things and integrating again the heart and the head, then you can get more of whatever it is you want to manifest in your life. If you can switch the King of Pentacles in reverse to now being right side up, and maybe now also being ready to level up. So you go from a Prince of Swords to now a King of Pentacles, right? So leveling up in some area of your life, taking the next step. So you can do that, or they can do that, as long as they or you kind of focus on the head and the heart. All right. Now, when we have it coming in here with the Ten of Swords in reverse, this is all about, right, letting go of all the anxiety, worry, overthinking, exhaustion, depression, mental exhaustion. The more that you can do that, or they can do that, or everybody can do that, right? The whole world, right? Especially with what's going on in the world right now, then we can hopefully have more love. We can have more abundance, more money, wealth. We can have better health, all of those things, okay? So, like I said, the Ten of Swords in reverse makes me think of self-care. It makes me think of shadow work. So as long as you're doing that, and the other person is, or multiple people, that things are going to be better for everyone long term, right? Or going forward. Now, when we talk about it, the King of Pentacles in reverse, when we flip it over again, with the Four of Sacred Circles in reverse, if there's communication issues or stagnant energy or not feeling abundant, again, step into your power. So they need to step into their power. Multiple people need to step into their power, even if they're not necessarily a leader, even if they're not necessarily wanting to level up in a new position at work, in a relationship, taking the next step. Even if they don't want to do that, if they're just stepping into their own power, they can be more abundant and manifest things better too. And then naturally, when you're manifesting, you're also communicating. So then the communication will come back as well. All right. So Hopefully that made sense. But I know we're getting short on time. So let's go ahead now and get into your little oracle cards real quickly before you go. So your first one is your love oracle message. Whether you're watching for romantic love or platonic love with friends or family, or if it's self-love or all of those things, right? This time, Libra, your love oracle message is finances and career. And it says financial issues are a factor in your love life right now. Okay, so that's pretty self-explanatory, but it can be also if there are financial issues in some way for you yourself or another person, multiple people, it could also be affecting all relationships in your life, all love relationships, not just romantic. It could be affecting stuff with your family or your friends, or even when we think about finances and career, when we were talking about mental health before, right? Some people, if they make a certain amount of money, they can't get free mental health stuff. But I think because of the pandemic, that's kind of changed, hopefully. But some people have to pay for it, or they want to pay for it, or whatever. So that could also talk about the self-love. So if you don't have the money to go to the spa and go to the therapist or the mental health care worker, then it's going to affect your self-love too. So just something to think about. It's not the end of the world, right? And your second oracle card here is your Rumi or Remy oracle by Elena Fairchild. And so he was a 13th century Persian poet, and he was one of my favorites. And so she came in and took his poetry and paired it with this beautiful imagery in these cards. So I will read the poem real quickly, and then like a short 2 to 3 sentence meditation if you want to get into that energy for this time period or even beyond. But you got, Libra, the sacred phoenix heart, okay? And this really beautiful, almost, like the phoenix rising out of the ashes, kind of looks like a bird if you look at it in different ways, all right? But very pretty. So let's get into it here real quickly. All right, so it's card number 21, the sacred phoenix heart. Under the cover of blood, love veils many rose gardens. In total faith, love tenderly guides every lover to the garden of the heart. Reason says the world is limited in 6 directions. There is no way out. Love says there is a way, and I have traveled it many times. How I adore your defiant, rebellious heart. It knows that what for the mind is an end is for the heart simply another match to ignite the sacred flames. It eats of love until it is filled and then becomes hungry again and eats some more. And again and again, it eats of love until it is so full it must simply explode into a sacred fire of passion. It bursts incapable of sustaining old consciousness. Okay, it bursts. Wait, let me go back. It bursts, incapable of sustaining old consciousness in the expanse of blessings unlimited, lavished upon it through the great beloved's affection. It would be like attempting to fit an ocean in a teacup. So it does not. It bursts forth like a dying star in a spectacular radiance, only to be reborn again and hungry for the next feeding frenzy in love's great banquet. How I adore your defiant, spectacular heart. Yeah, this would definitely go with the Judgment card, right? Being reborn again, the dying star, all of that. Okay, so I would definitely put it with the Judgment card. Okay. Rising from the ashes, right? All right. So that is the poem. It's a little shorter one. So real quickly, let's do the sacred honoring ritual if you want to get into even more of this energy. So it says, place your hands on your heart and say, excuse me, this sacred phoenix heart is blessed. Through every loss, through every grief and sadness, every morning, this heart grows strong, ready to ignite into new life, into the dance that is not the funeral procession, but the rite of spring. This heart is ready to leap with new life, to be infused with the joy of innocence and the passion of deepest devotion. How I trust my heart to lead me, guided by my inner voice of love through all that could possibly be. I am safe. This heart knows the way, and I follow it faithfully now into the light of a new day. Through sacred grace, so be it. All right, that's beautiful. So then it says, place your hands in prayer and close your eyes. Imagine there is love in your heart and that you can send a gentle acknowledgement of that love from your mind to your heart. As you bow your head towards your hands, imagine you are mentally bowing to the greatness of your heart and the love it honors. You have completed your sacred honoring ritual. So very nice. That's beautiful. All right, so that is your reading here, dear Libra. Thank you guys so much, as always, for your energy and your views and everything. And if you want to subscribe and you haven't yet, it is free. All you have to do is click on the bell icon on the bottom right and make sure it's blue and it's active and it's like, hey, okay, we're going to notify you. It basically will notify you when I put out new readings. But yes, let me know in the comments down below if you guys want to, if this does end up resonating for you. I always like to hear from people, but you don't have to, of course. So anyway, I'm going to take a little bit of a break and then come back a little later with Scorpio. So you guys enjoy this time period and take care. I'll see you later. All right, bye.